And we're on.
Hi,
Dr. Hillary, how are you doing today?
I'm great.
Are
How
you
are you?
bloated?
No.
That's good.
The good news is I don't have a big issue with bloating. Thank goodness, not yet. You guys were talking about today how bloating gives you the blues because so many of our patients are experiencing GI bloating and issues after eating. And it's one of those things that can just really shift how things feel especially
Mhm.
I find for my women, like at night, they're getting bloated. It's in really impacting their sexual relationships. It's not like the kind of thing you want to do is like be touched at night if you have a big bloated tummy and you feel pregnant. um,
Right.
you
And
know,
it's
so
uncomfortable. It's just like it's painful actually, and it does tend to add up over the day.
yeah, I just also had a patient yesterday who was saying that she needed to like unbutton her jeans and do the rubber band trick, which is like the pregnancy trick
What is that? Oh, between
where
the
you tie
buttons?
the rubber band to just like give yourself the extended model of the jeans in
Mhm.
every afternoon. And she was like, "Is that normal?" And I'm like, "No, honey, that's not normal." No, I love like what people think. It's so cute what we humans justify because we're just
Mhm.
busy and we go about our business and things happen to us
Mhm.
and we're not really tracking. And then all of a sudden you just like you create a mechanism of just dealing with your discomfort and all of a sudden that becomes your normal. And then you report it to somebody like me and I'm like, no, that's, that's absolutely not normal. It's not
Not
normal
normal.
to like change jean sizes as the day goes.
No, definitely not, and it's not like that it goes away and comes back, that's bloat, right? So we have that crazy stat of how much your gut bacteria actually makes in gas a day, but, like, mine's doing it, yours is doing it, and we don't have bloating, so I think that people think, "Oh, it's just totally normal." This is not normal, like, okay, having some gas is probably normal, but this kind of bloating, not at all normal. I've told you this story where the person came in my office to pick up some supplements, and she came up the steps, and her jeans were just open on the top, and I happened to be in the entryway, and I said, "What's going on here?" And she said, "I couldn't sit in my car. I ate these pita chips of my children, in the car and I couldn't sit anymore. So I just had to open these and I'm just coming in and I was like, oh, well, we have to switch what you're taking because this is not right. Right. So that's not, if you have to sit in your car and you have to open your pants, that is a good sign that you're having excess bloating. So that's not a normal thing. I think though, you are supposed to have some passing gas a day. So when people say, oh, my husband has excess gas, I think it's more like his food choices and his microbiome and things like that people are complaining to me about, or their children or their partners, whatever. That's what people are complaining about. It's like what's growing in there and what foods they're putting in there because you are supposed to have some kind of gas, but it shouldn't be super stinky. So that's the other thing, it all kind of goes together in the same conversation that we don't talk enough about, I think.
Well, I just for women, women and men,
Yeah.
bloating can just give you the blues. That's the name of this topic. And so
Mhm.
I think part of it's just the understanding of our microbiome changes as we age. Things have gotten, if you guys have followed us or heard us, we're saying that we're sort of in a microbiome crisis of sorts in the post COVID world, potentially from all the antimicrobial stuff that we were putting on our hands, eating, COVID itself, who knows, the stress that we're just seeing a serious uptick in bowel issues and a serious uptick in food absorption, digestion issues.
Mhm.
And we're here to say that no, it's not normal. One of the, and we've learned several things working with a couple big groups that we had testing food sensitivities and then went on to do some microbiome testing with everybody looking at bacteria. We've seen a big uptick in yeast and yeast uh, part of your microbiome. It is a normal Candida albicans is like a normal part of your microbiome. grows in excess. So any of these critters, when they grow uncontrollably, and that's like upper bowel where we see more H. pylori, which impacts here. Lower bowel, it's more these interesting bacteria or yeast that kind of take over. They just see an opportunity. They're opportunistic. They see an opportunity for growth because we're using so many antimicrobial or whatever created the change of the good guys. The bad guys are like, and I'm moving in. And those guys just make it so often you're not absorbing your nutrients as well. And it just creates a ton of afternoon bloat.
Yeah, and there's specific bacteria, right, that just make a lot more gas, and so those are probably growing if you're having this bloat, and it's sort of like you eat breakfast, you might be okay to do some exercise, you might still feel okay, you eat lunch, it's just getting worse and worse through the day, and by the end of the day, people are feeling heavy, and you know what another thing is? It's sort of part of, not eating enough fiber and having constipation goes really hand in hand with this, and so your fiber feeds your good microbiome, and we just don't eat enough fiber. So, thinking about that too, but taking a good probiotic is always where we start, right? That's like the number one. What are you taking? Is it a really good probiotic? That's the first question. Because sometimes people come back and say, "I've been taking that probiotic, and this is so much better." It's like
Yeah.
gone. So that's the most obvious solution, right? You just don't have the right strains going on.
I loved we did something called the Glow Up. If you haven't seen it, actually, we're rerunning it right now. So if you didn't participate, you can sign back up for that. But in our Glow Up, we talked about using a GI tonic because part of
Mhm.
this is just like daily choices that you make to help make your gut microbiome work more effectively
Mhm.
to not create so much. But bloating essentially is just like internal trapped air or it's if stool isn't moving appropriately. And most people should be having bowel movements once or twice a day, I would say in general. If I talk to some people that are like, yeah, I poop every every 3 days or every 2 days, and they're like, but that's normal. And I'm like, I that's not normal. And obviously we don't teach these things in school, so it's fine that people don't understand and it's fine that you don't spend all your time watching health shows and stuff, but that's not
Right.
normal. Normal is that you eliminate every single day and sometimes twice a day or for some people 3 times a day if they eat a time.
Mhm.
But I'd say the majority of my patients are between 1 and 2.
And and you're supposed to really go every time after you eat, right? So
Yeah,
a
I've
lot
never
of people that
do
were
do you
eating
feel like a lot of people.
promotes going, as far as it promotes peristalsis. We just don't have it in our lifestyle, right? I eat lunch, I'm going right back in with patients. I don't have the time for this too. So I think part of it is scheduling and things, but you should have that sensation of having to go after you eat a meal. That's part of normal biology. We learned that in gastroenterology, right, Hillary? And so sometimes I hear that from people, I eat, I go have a bowel movement, and that's a healthy bowel. That's fantastic.
Yeah, um, at least if you can't do that 3 ti I mean, yeah, it's hard
It's
for people
very few people, yes,
to
very few.
make time for that.
I'm just trying to set up the kind of
I
like,
love
what would
that
be amazing?
men do take time usually for themselves in the bathroom. It's always like a hilarious thing where moms are talking about their teenage sons, like, and he goes in there for hours or for, not hours, but 15 to 20 minutes. Like men tend to take a little bit more time. Women are like, if they don't get the impulse and go, they don't make time for it. So it is true
Mhm,
that like, your bowel health is something you need to just make a little time for if
mhm.
it's not right away. But there are things that are happening in the setup that are causing some of these microbiome issues. So one that you're not eating enough fiber. So do you have the grams of fiber right on the tip of your tongue? How many people?
Me?
Yeah.
Like 45 would be great. The people that we evolved from, like people 150 years ago or something, these people who were on the planet and survived and we're from them, they ate like 150 grams a day.
Of
Imagine
fiber
that. I mean,
because
I don't know what would happen if I ever tried to do that. I would get bloated. It'd be so
oh my
sick.
gosh. Well, and what will
Can you
happen is
imagine?
as soon as I put people on a detox or we're doing a detox program, many people initially will experience more gas
Absolutely.
and bloating. And that's because
Mhm,
if you're increasing your fiber, you're going to
mhm,
note, I mean, you're just going to get more gas and bloated. The critters don't know what to do with it right away. So it should be a gradual increase. And obviously our ancestors were just eating, there was no processed foods.
right.
And they were eating berries and nut, whatever they could find, right?
Mhm,
And more tubers and like all the things that we don't even have in our food supply. I think our food supply now is so devoid of fiber.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
what's interesting is like this whole movement in the 80s that came about fiber with heart disease, 80s and 90s, where it was like, okay, now everybody's going to eat oatmeal. And so then people started to eat oatmeal. They were like trying to get more fiber for heart health. And unfortunately, what that did was is it created a ton of blood sugar issues. So a lot of the heart health or heart friendly, when the movement was against fat and it was for increasing fiber, it just tended to be very high carbohydrate fiber and created a whole
Mhm.
second wave of diabetes and other issues.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is just kind of like get it back to basics, start to bring in more. And for some patients, like doing it with a supplement, I think is totally fine. Like if
Yeah, it works.
you're making a smoothie and
Mhm,
you can add fiber into your smoothie or
mhm,
I have one of my best friends is like, I need to travel with Metamucil and like I have to add my fiber or else I get
mhm,
constipated. Like there are ways that you can supplement it.
mhm,
But what you're trying to do is to eat half your plate of fruit and vegetables. And that will really help promote the fiber.
mhm.
So in the
I
background,
think
initially increasing your fiber will give you more bloating, but eventually it will make it so your bowel, you just need bulk to move through your
mhm,
colon to get stuff out. And the gut is the way that we take our trash out every day. If you're not
mhm.
not pooping every day, you're not taking the trash out, literally toxins get reabsorbed. Estrogen gets reabsorbed, arsenic, mercury, some of the things that we're trying to clear, some of the things that our liver has processed, the liver processes
Mhm.
dumps it into the colon so that it can be removed. And if your colon's just sitting there stagnant, your toxicity increases.
And there's a big sign of this that people report to us, and right away, we're thinking about your gut microbiome and what probiotics you're taking and what fiber you're having intake on, is if you feel like your sweat smells bad, that is a real sign that we need to work on this fiber, gut microbiome, probiotic situation. So, if you're noticing that, that is just such a telltale for me in clinical practice. But I just want to say something about telling people to increase their fiber to say even 45 grams, which is a really good start. It
Oh,
sometimes, and this is, you and I have this problem, like, this is how medicine is. It's such a failure, these quick little medical visits, because we can't go into, "Well, no, you're not gonna go to the store and get the fiber-rich bread." That is not how we're increasing the fiber. So, everyone knows we need more fiber, right? So, the food industry has marketed all these things to us. That is not how we want you to increase your fiber. We want you to do it with whole foods. So, like Hillary's saying, the fruit and vegetable half your plate will increase fiber, but it does need to be things like sweet potatoes and roasted root vegetables. We're coming up to fall. Like, those things are so good for your gut microbiome. And I always want people, if they're doing that, to take your probiotic with those foods. So, roasted root vegetables, so awesome for increasing fiber that way. So we want diverse kinds of fiber. We want berries. We want all of that. The Metamucil, okay, if we have to do it, we have to do it. But Hillary and I want you to put in your smoothie hemp hearts and chia seeds and, prune powder and
half a cucumber,
yeah,
romaine,
all that stuff.
parsley, like
Yes.
2 vegetables and a berry in your smoothie,
Yes.
plus the
Absolutely.
essential fats, plus you
Right.
can really front load it for yourself.
Right. And, I working with pregnant women, they often get constipated, so I'm kind of working on fiber over there, and sometimes it's like the baby food that's, pureed fruits are so easy to get down because sometimes if you do have bloating, these foods that we're talking about are sort of bulky, they do make you feel kinda heavy, like, they're not the easy, quick it's not just like a light salad, it has some weight to it a little bit, these foods, when it hits your stomach sometimes. So, doing those pureed baby food things or those little, like, organic, what are they, Hillary? Those squeezy things or whatever, like, that they make for babies. Actually, look at them, they have good fiber on them in the store, so sometimes that can get people through too, because when you're bloated and constipated, it's kinda hard to eat more too, but, it's a real issue.
Let's talk about some herbs that help with bloating naturally.
Mhm.
So what we're saying is that obviously your bloat starts with the front end, what you're putting in. But there
Right.
are some herbs that can be really helpful at
Mhm.
reducing wind or reducing bloating. And I will say that in our group, one of the biggest things that contributed to many patients bloating who have tried a lot of other things was sugar, and it was
Mhm.
the half a banana they were using in the smoothie or the
Mhm.
dates. They're eating sugar that they think is clean and healthy, and it was still just enough that it was feeding the critters that are the big gas producers. So if you're
Like bad guys.
a lot of natural sugars, that might in your experience a
Yeah.
lot of bloating, sugar is probably one of the first places to start where you stop that. But let's talk about a couple herbs that are friendly for especially that evening meal, for helping to they're called carminatives, they're anti-gas herbs, they're anti-bloating herbs. They're just really nice ways to kind of help your digestive tract chill out.
Mhm. They're your traditional after dinner tea, what your grandparents probably drank. It's chamomile, it's mint, it's anything
Fennel.
fennel, it's anything that has those really nice scents, those essential oils are the thing that actually works, and carminative is such a cool word because I remember when we learned that in herbal medicine, and, we don't have an equivalent in Western medicine to this herb concept, so it's something and I thought it was so strange. I was like, "How does it do it?" It actually helps absorb gas, so that's not a thing we have in our kind of medicine, something that actually helps your body process and absorb that gas. It doesn't, like, shove it out, anything like that. These herbs all have antispasmodic qualities, and they're really soothing to the GI system, and it makes it so that that gas is processed in a different way. So it's something we don't have. Like, you go to the CVS down my street, we don't have that. There's nothing called a carminative in there. So that's only herbal medicine, but traditional herbs that are really safe, nice herbs to use can have a big impact. And sometimes it's really neat that the sleep herbs too do that. So if you have a sleep tea, those are some of those soothing herbs also because they often have those essential oils that are antispasmodic. So anything that you like as far as the taste goes, peppermint's always really easy for people to add in because it tastes delicious, and, you know, training yourself to drink the herbal tea without a sweetener is, like, step number 1 because we really don't need a sweetener in there. If it's an herb that we're using for medicine, sometimes those, you know, an antimicrobial herb or something or an immune system herb, those sometimes have really strong taste because, of course, the plants would develop a strong taste, so you don't just go crazy and eat them because 'cause they're really, really medicinally active. So those constituents have, like, bitter taste and sour taste, and you're kinda like, "Ooh, I don't think I want any more." But these things for mints, and chamomile and, fennel, those things are, like, nice and sweet, and you kinda wanna eat them, so it kinda gives you a clue of, like, these things are really good to use on a daily basis. They're nice herbs, and they help you, calm everything down, they're really, really good. I also like the idea at the Indian food restaurant of that, like, fennel seed thing, but the pink little candies can be skipped, but why do I don't
Parsley,
understand. Like,
pink.
why don't we have a little container in our purse or whatever of just, like, some fennel seeds because it helps us with our breath too, right? Um, anyway, if there's parsley on your plate, you could just take a bite of that. That helps too, so any of
My
those herbs are
sweet
good.
grandmother, my grandmother, she used to eat everybody's parsley on the plate. It was so
Yeah,
cute. Growing up
it's
in Las
so
Vegas,
good.
there was always, like, parsley on
Yeah.
everybody's plate. That was sort of like the green thing.
Right, and it's a carminative, it's so good for you, we should eat that. There's that rule, right, Hillary, you're not supposed to put something on the plate for decoration, unless it's edible, because of course you can poison people, so often, like, the flowers or whatever
I
people
didn't
put
know
on
that
their
rule.
plates.
That's a
Yeah,
rule?
that's a rule, yeah, you can't put things that are gonna make people sick on the plate for decoration. Do you know they're trying to make it more appealing, so it's like, I don't know, a sprig of
Research
rosemary or they'll put a flower, so those flowers I guess I shouldn't say this, that they're always edible, but they are in the restaurants I go to, they're because they are edible, you're allowed to eat those, and a lot of those flowers actually have really good constituents for digestion too, so, um, anyway, we digress, but bloating is a real problem, and I just wanna say, and I don't wanna be like the Debbie Downer over here or whatever, but if
really?
you I don't, but I'm gonna say it because I think it's a real thing, because like you said in the beginning, people accept this. We're survivors, we just wanna get through our day, right? We're not gonna be bothered by various things, so we'll deal with, like, the elastic trick or whatever. But actually, if you do have bloating and a little constipation, that is not okay at all. Long term, you're increasing your risks of really nasty things. So
Colon cancer?
it is like a slow way to die. I'm telling you, it's disgusting what your body's reabsorbing and what is going on in your GI system. And we have real problems. Hillary and I have had very young patients with serious colon issues, including colon cancer, and we're worried about this. So this is a sign that should be dealt with. I'm not trying to freak anyone out, but it's like don't accept it. That's not okay at all.
Correct.
No.
Yeah, if you have long-standing bloat or constipation, get it
Mhm.
worked on. One, just test your food sensitivities because you
Yes.
could be eating food that's causing you immune reactions and
Mhm.
inflammation. You do
Yeah.
not want inflammation in your bowel at all.
Mm-mm.
It's the biggest risk probably for colon cancer.
And
Not
autoimmune disease and joint pain, like all the things we don't brain fog, all the things we don't want. Yeah.
So, if you're bloating and it's been consistent and it's just who you are and you've come to accept it, just know that you need to do a little work on that.
No.
So, get yourself somebody to help you work on that, right?
All right.
For the teas.
W
All right. Happy Friday. What are you doing this weekend? Are you with your kiddos?
I
Is it
am.
last
We're
weekend
in
of school?
preseason over here. So, that's what's happening.
Preseason for sports.
Sports.
Sports. Yep. Mhm. All
Mhm.
right. My kids have all started school. So
Oh.
my two younger ones, they're like full on in school, and there are football games happening this weekend and
Oh, wow.
sports. So it's like all of a sudden the end of August and boom, we're back in it.
Oh,
So
you're gonna be so productive this week. You
why?
know what I mean? Like, the kids are
Oh, because
gone
my
and
kids
they're
are
gone.
gone?
Well, the kids are gone and they're, like, gone till the evening time. Our age children are gone till it's like, I don't have to think, "Oh, I'm gonna be making lunch for them," or anything. Do you know what I mean? It just frees up so much space and time of they're not here, so, like, what's on the list of things that I need to catch up on is sort of where I am. I've been talking to lots of patients about that too.
I have a big list starting with
Me
like,
too.
so everybody, this is the inside of Hillary. This is after a summer of not filing. By tomorrow, everything's going to be filed. I'm so excited. No more piles in my office.
All right, let's do it. Let's find those papers we're looking for or whatever. Everybody go do it.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.